Hello. My daughter and I were able to go to the nursery, the plant nursery, yesterday, and we were able to get a few house plants. So I'm going to share with you Mitchell's Plant Nursery here on this video. And one of the workers that's there, she's going to speak with you for just a minute. I didn't get a shot of all the house plants because time, and my daughter, she was on a time schedule, so we had to do what we needed to do. But I just showed you a kind of a view of the inside of the nursery, and we met some of the people that work there, and I'll share that with you. And then I have to find a place for the new plants that I bought, so I'll share some of that with you too. I'll share with you how I organized some of my house plants and how I repotted some. Thank you for joining me today. You're in the right place. Good morning. We are here at Mitchell's Nursery this morning. They got new house plants in. Here you can see the geraniums are starting. They're tiny now, but they'll be big before you know it. They'll be beautiful in time for spring and summer. They've got plenty of those out here. And it is beautiful here. And you can't get more friendly than the staff that's been here to help us this morning. Now look at these beauties. Now, wouldn't you want something like this for Valentine's Day? The cyclamen, those things are stunning. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to have to break down and get one of these.
Advertising person.
Now this
My friend who went with me.
this help here that you get at Mitchell's Nursery is top notch.
It's just like a big sinkhole, and they
Hi,
go down
this is
that,
Linda.
like, growing
I
things
just wanted
in
to let
there,
you know
which is
about Mitchell's Great Gardeners that
perfect.
is
We
over
got
Facebook.
turtles, flamingos.
We post all kinds of different
People get married in
helpful
this little
tips
area right here,
and different
underneath the trees.
ideas that you can use to
I mean, it rains when we were
for your
there.
garden and pruning and everything. Just whatever you need to do, different things
Yeah.
to make
It
for
was so pretty.
herb gardens and everything.
And then they
Just
had,
all kinds of different tips.
This was a plant
So
store they had down
be
there.
sure to go there and see Mitchell's Great Gardeners.
Yes, they've got beautiful ideas on there. It's worth a trip there to look and see.
They had a lot of good plants down there.
Well, thank y'all so much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate the help, the niceness, and all the beautiful things that we saw today. This is my haul. This is what I've got. And of course, I had to pick up one of these. I couldn't resist it. And this is what my daughter got. I've tore down my little plant area. I've pulled all the plants out. I've got to get the shop vac and vacuum up this mess that's right here. I've got this Hoya that Mama gave me, and it is really, really tall. I bought this little stick right here to go into this Hoya plant. You can see I got it at Home Depot, and I am going to stick it in this Hoya plant and clamp it up, because I know when I move this away from the window to clean this right here, that these Hoya extensions that have grown are just going to flop over, and I don't want them to do that. I got these clamps at Home Depot, and I got this rod right here so that I can clamp this Hoya up to keep it from breaking. I'm going to try and get this sticker off of this rod so I can put it in the plant. This shop vac's going to be kind of loud. I've just got to vacuum up some of the soil. Okay, I've got that stick in here that I've bought to brace it. It's in there pretty good. And we'll take some of the clamps that I've bought here. And I'm going to try and clamp this Hoya onto the stick to keep it from breaking. I really need to trim it and start it to root it in a dish. Hopefully I can do that soon. But right now I'm just going to clamp it to this stick. Looks like it might take 2 to hold this up. Okay, I got this Hoya clamped up right here. And you can see it goes almost all the way to the top of this door. It loves this light right here. I really hate to move it, but I've got to clean this little area up here. It's getting out of hand. Those pretty heart-shaped leaves. Now this is the part of it that stays pressed against the window. That's the part of the leaves that are striving to get the light. Okay, I've got it pulled out. And now I am going to put together this shelf. I bought this shelf here at Home Depot. I'm going to put it together. It's a storage shelf, but I think that it will look good here, and I'll be able to put my plants on it. At least some of the plants. So that's the goal, so that I can put some of these plants on this shelf in front of this window. This is the part, both of these doors open, but this is the part that we use the most, this door right here. So this one we can block off and let the plants have that side of the light, that side of the door for the light. And you can see all the plants I've got out here that need to be on this shelf. So I'm just going to cut this thing open and get it put together and see how many plants I can corral. I weighed it out if it would be more cost effective for Donald to build me a shelf or this, to buy this. And it was more cost effective for me to buy this. So I'm just going to take a minute and put this thing together. Get the plants up on it. It's a pretty basic shelf where you just put the plastic pieces in between and the 4 little shelf risers. So it doesn't appear to be too hard to put together. So it'll just take me a minute to get this thing put together. And then I'll see what I can do as far as getting these plants up on here. So here I've got the plants on the shelf. And I like it. It's neatened up these plants a little bit. I didn't really want a black shelf because, you know, I have a traditional older wooden look. But I think it's going to be okay because, you know, function has to work. It has to provide a function. I thought about a wooden shelf, but I thought for these plants probably the plastic shelf would do much better. Donald could have built a wooden shelf easily, but we decided that just to get one of these shelves. I did get these plants put up. They're not down on the floor like they were. They're neatened up. I can still get to them easily to tend to them. And I can make the most of the light that I've got coming here in this door for these. The Hoya, of course, I still left it here so it can get the light that it's used to getting. I didn't put my cyclamen on the rack because I just wanted to look at it. I wanted to be able to see it from all the way around. And I did put this one monstera right over here because it can get direct light from the window, from the door. I freshened up some of the plants that were right here in this area in the living room. And I've got a few more here that I want to put in different pots. I've got this little ivy. I thought I would put it in a different pot. I just love the look of it. I've got it sitting here where it can get some light from the living room window while I work on it. And I got this beautiful plant here. I'm going to repot it. And I am actually doing this in the living room, believe it or not. I've got a box right here. And I'm repotting right here in this box. I've got this beautiful little heart-shaped leaves vine. I've got a small one. I can't wait till that grows a little bit more. I repotted this. This was in a terracotta pot, but for some reason it wasn't getting enough moisture. So I put it in this little container here. Cookie was helping me, but he just gave up and he's taking a nap. And I brought this soil in here, and I've got a piece of plastic down, and this is where I'm repotting my plants. I was using Daddy Pete's soil right here, and it's from North Carolina, and it was purchased locally at Main Street Lawn and Garden. I've shared that store with y'all before. And I'll be cleaning all this up. I've got a few more of these little plants to go ahead and repot right here on the table. And as soon as I get these repotted, I will go ahead and start cleaning all this up. But I've been working on the plants. Now this is called a shark fin. Not a shark fin. I want to call it that every time. It's called a whale fin. And this whale fin is a snake plant. Now I've got a lot of snake plants. This is just the one that I have in the living room. I've got a much bigger one downstairs in the bedroom. And I do love the look of snake plants. And if you're looking for a really easy house plant to grow, to me this is one of the easiest ones you can grow. I've had this little piece of a snake plant. It came off the original one I had when Donald and I first got married. So I've had this for quite some time. And when I saw this whale fin snake plant right here, I had to have it. It was so much larger and so unusual and so different. And I already had this pot. I had thrifted this beautiful pot. And when I saw this whale fin, I knew it was the perfect pot for this plant. My daughter, I purchased this at the Mitchell's nursery. And it was the last one they had of this size, the last whale fin snake plant that they had. And my daughter said, well, you get that, and maybe when you repot it, there might be, another rhizome that I can take a piece of. And it was indeed. When I repotted this plant, I found another rhizome down in the bottom, and I was able to give that to her so she can take it home and plant it. And now she'll have one too. And that's how we work. We try to make the most out of what we got. She shares her cuttings with me. I share what I have with her. And we just take care of business that way. Now, to me, this plant is beautiful. It says it's a pothos philodendron, but Jody said it was something else. but it was actually a different plant. Now this plant is pretty well, I'm pretty sure it's root bound. Not only can I tell by the roots that's coming out of the bottom of this pot, you know, that's not real bad, but you can tell that these roots they're bound in here. So I'm going to pull this out and see what this looks like. Well, I was able to take this plastic pot off of this plant, and you can see our suspicions of this plant being root bound was accurate. Now, this is about as root bound as you can get. A lot of times when you get plants that are this severely root bound, they'll start having roots just coming all out of the bottom of the pot. This one wasn't quite coming out very much, but you can see there's very little soil in here for this plant. Now, my daughter and I, when she first got into plants, we went to a plant care class just to get a refresher and just see what other people had to say, to learn, you know, and see if there was anything that we didn't know. And we enjoyed going to that class, but we did find out a lot that that we already knew by instinct that we just did not listen to. And one of the things that guy was saying in that class was to leave, if you buy a plant, to leave it in its original container for the first year. And as you can see, I think if I were to leave this plant in this container for another year, I don't know that this plant would make it. It would really seriously be struggling for nutrients. And it's not even enough soil in here to hold the dirt, I don't think. So, of course, I am going to repot this today. I've got to find another pot. I wasn't quite sure if I would need another pot or not, but I have several on hand. So I'm going to find another pot, and I'm going to have to replant this plant because I don't want to risk it not having what it needs. I think it's so pretty. I love this kind of plant. I love the greenness of it. I love a vining plant. You know that. I've shared with you before my love of vines. So I am going to find another pot to put this in, and we're going to fix this little plant up so that it's not having to struggle and be so tightly bound in a little pot. Now I've got this right here. And I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to work out this roots for a little bit before I cut it. You can see it's growing in a circular pattern. That's not what we want it to do. We want it to branch out a little bit and grow more downward. And these are pretty tightly compacted, so I wanted to loosen them up a little bit without cutting them, but they're just so coarse in here. I'm going to have to get a scissor and cut these roots a little bit. It's the only way I'm going to be able to help this plant. Now I found a container. I found this old coffee pot without a lid, and I am going to use this container to plant this beautiful plant in. Well, I have tried to loosen it up and it's pretty well compacted. It's not easily loosening up for me. I'm going to have to break a little bit of roots no matter how I look at it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut some roots with these scissors so I can kind of break it out, and maybe that these plants roots can grow out in that pot a little bit more, in that bigger pot. Now this pot does not have a drainage hole, so I'm going to put a few of these shards of pottery down in here, and what that'll do is just keep the roots from just sitting right down in water. It'll hold these roots up a little bit out of the water. Then I'm going to put some soil in here. I've got my shards in my container here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my soil that I just got out of the bag. I'm just going to plant this little pot. I've cut the roots with the scissors so that encourage them not to go around in a circle. And hopefully that'll help this plant. And I'm just going to go ahead and add more soil. Just tucking it in, just tucking the soil down in around it as I go. I may need a little bit more soil. I don't want too many air pockets in there, so I'm kind of pressing down in there a little bit as I go. You can take one of these little sticks if you'd like. I got this one here in the paint section of Home Depot. It's just a pack of, it says quart paint sticks, but I find them useful to work in around plants like this when you're trying to tuck in dirt in a small space. I'll just use this stir stick to kind of tuck the dirt down in there and avoid air pockets. Of course, when we water this plant, a lot of this soil will settle in down around it. Just work with it there and pack a little dirt in there. And after we get the soil kind of tamped down in there and get it good and planted in, I feel so much better for this plant. I feel like it's going to get better nutrients. And look how beautiful. I'm going to take it in here and give it a little water. And I'm just gently going to run a little water in here around this plant. I'm going to moisten all the leaves that we just planted and all the roots down here. And I'm doing it with my hand because if I probably try to put this thing down here, I'm not wanting to disturb the soil. I'm not wanting to wash the soil out of this pot. Now that I've got this plant thoroughly watered in, I'll have to find a beautiful place to display it. And I think right here in the kitchen, it'll fit that bill. Y'all will hear Madeline in the background. She's enjoying her Dora movie. So she's in there talking. So if you hear her in the background, that's who it is. That's our little granddaughter. She's in there enjoying her Dora movie. So there it is. There's that beautiful plant that we got planted in this coffee pot. Now I've got a few more plants that I need to plant here. The little lady at the greenhouse, inside one of the plants I bought was this little piece of a cactus. So I'm going to take this cactus and I'm going to go ahead and plant it. I'm going to put some dirt in here and plant this little cutting and see what happens with it. I've got a little pot handy here. I'm just going to stick it right down in here. I'm not going to water it too much because you don't have to water a cactus a lot, but I might just dampen it here in the beginning. And so that's a new little baby plant all on its own. I'll find it a little place right in here. On the shelf with the other plants. And we'll see if we can get this to root. Now this part of the table is a good place for these plants to catch sun in the afternoon. So I'm just going to let them sit here for a little bit and get a little bit of sun. But I need to repot this plant too, because I have a feeling that it's pretty much root bound also. And I don't need a real big pot for that. I just went ahead and got this one right here, one that I've already used. It doesn't have a drainage hole, but that's okay. I'll put a few pieces of, a few stones down in the bottom of it so it'll drain better. I'm going to put soil in this and repot this plant. I got a little bit on Cookie, but he hasn't noticed. He's just still resting. This one is not too severely root bound. It's nice. A nice root system going there, but it's not severely root bound, so it's going to be good to transfer right over into this little pot. Just a little bit bigger than the one that it was in circumference, but quite a bit deeper, so its roots can go down if it needs to. Now these little paint stir sticks for quartz that you get from Home Depot or any paint store that sells paint probably, you could also use these for plant markers. You could put what kind of plant you wanted to in here, the name of the plant, and just stick it down on the side as a plant marker. Especially if they're new plants to you. If you hadn't grown them before and you're trying to remember the names of them. Herbs. It's good to use these little paint stir sticks for herbs. Now, if I were going to put that on that plastic shelf, I would not even have to worry about it because that plastic shelf is not going to be damaged by any kind of watering. But if I'm going to set this in here on a wooden surface, I would use one of these little water catchers. And there's different ways you can get these. Now, they had these at Home Depot for 25 cents each, this size right here. So I bought a few of them. But you know, in general, I usually just make my water catchers out of the cakes of the tops of cake plates and different containers that you might buy food in. This one held pineapple spears at one time, so I saved all of these. And they work just as good. These ones that you save from your deli products and the kitchen products work just as good. And you can see there's not a whole lot of difference in the appearance. But you put these under your plants when you put them in your living room or anywhere on nice furniture or anywhere you don't want them to leave a mark. And it prevents moisture damage to your furniture. I may have to move this one because this is one of Cookie's favorite places. He loves to lay up here. His ball was in this drawer. And so he may want to lay up here and get his balls and chew on that plant. So I may have to move that plant a little bit later. Here's an Angelina moment. She's taking a nap. She loves the top of the cat tower because she's the queen. Sorry, baby. Sorry to wake you up. And Cookie, he's just laying down here right in the middle of whatever I'm doing in case I need him to help me. Well, I've got to go and clean all this mess that I've got in my living room up here. I've got to go ahead and put this dirt up and gather up all of my supplies that I've got going on right here on this table. But it won't take but just a minute to clean it up. I appreciate you joining me today and just watching more organizing my house plants and trying to take care of the things that I enjoy. I so enjoy house plants. I enjoy you, and I'm glad you came back to be here today and let me share this with you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and like always, until next time.